This week on Motorhead Garage, we're jacking things up and putting our foot down on diesel engine performance. But before that, John learns how to control these supercharged beasts. Next on Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting.
Welcome to Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting. Now, old Broncos, you gotta love them. Coyote motor with a Magnuson supercharger, I love it even more. But we all know they're a challenge to steer. So we got Van from Tumblin Automotive. Now, Van, you come up with a system here with a power steering pump and bracket that's gonna simplify any power steering problems with these Broncos.
Correct. We just took a Type 2 pump, had it re-engineered for reverse rotation. We mount it inverted. Basically, just mount pump to the bracket, 3 bolts, mount the bracket to the motor, 2 hoses and a belt, and away you go.
Now, what was the design? Why did you have to design a whole bracket? Because of the Coyote Modi retrofit?
Yes, most of those do not come with power steering in the Mustang or truck application, so we had to design this. There's a lot of other companies out there offering the same deal, but nothing like this. Ours works with supercharged or naturally aspirated.
Just simply 3 bolts, you're bolting it to your bracket.
Right, and we're not changing location of any other component. Take one idler off, replace it with this setup, simplifies everything.
And because it's going on backwards, it is reverse rotation.
Correct.
And that's great. It's gonna feed power steering down to a gearbox.
Correct.
And now you got power steering. What is this capable of, about 3,000 PSI?
Probably max, yeah.
Vane type pump, really nice system. Now I know you're a big fan of keep it simple. So I can see the simplicity here, but I'd like to actually see it on the motor. So we got our ever competent host over here, Brian. I'm gonna send you over with him, let you go ahead and try and put it on.
Sure.
Hey Van, come on over, bring the pump with you, man. See how this baby goes on, this quick 3-bolt installation.
Yeah, we got one that's a little tricky, but the rest of them are pretty straightforward.
I think the brilliance here is obviously, you know, Ford spends like half a gazillion dollars designing that front-end accessory drive on this engine, and pretty brilliant of you guys to figure out how to incorporate that without having to re-engineer the whole thing.
Yeah, we try to keep it simple, just so if you have a problem, you don't have to re-engineer a whole front of the motor.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, these trucks, especially this one, and like a bunch of your customers, they're out on the trail, and they need the reliability, because obviously if you're trying to, you know, wheel around in this truck with the big 35-inch tires on it, you don't want to try to be muscling the steering wheel around in manual steering mode.
Exactly.
What was kind of the big challenge when you were developing this thing? Just engineering the bracket or getting the pump to work in reverse rotation?
Yeah, we had 2 builds going on, one naturally aspirated and one supercharged, so we designed it so it would work with both builds.
You know, your shop has turned out some pretty memorable trucks. I think a lot of our viewers probably know you from that Bronco that you guys built that incorporated basically an entire Raptor drivetrain and interior. That was a heck of a project too.
Yeah, that was one of the first full-size ones we did. They're coming on pretty hot too.
Yeah, it's great to be able to use a late model fuel injected engine like the Coyote that's in here. I mean, obviously the blower on, you make a ton of power, but also when you're out on the trail, you don't have to worry about a carburetor being off kilter, and pretty good benefit of the OEM technology that maybe some people aren't thinking of, which this thing will run almost upside down when it's out on the trail.
Exactly.
And you also use the factory style reservoir in this install as well, which is great. So you're not out there trying to, you know, again, re-engineer something that you don't need to. Yeah, when you're doing the install, any tips for any potential customers out there about doing the install?
There's one boss. We take off one idler pulley and you cut off that boss and then just kind of smooth it out and then just bolt it up and pretty much put the belts and hoses on. That's about it.
As far as taking the boss off, that's something you can do with a grinder at home?
Yeah, grinder, cut off wheel, whatever you got accessible.
Well, man, you're cinching down bolts already. This is a very straightforward installation. So thanks for coming out and hanging out in the shop here at Motorhead Garage. And we're going to be back after this with more cool stuff here in the shop.
Time now to connect with Garage Social. This week, drive yourself happy with Jeff Mosing.
I think the first time that I realized I was really interested in the automobile was the age of 6 with my brother Brent restoring a 1953 MG. Cars have definitely played a large role in my life. I have a personal collection of about 45 to 50 cars. The fastest car I have is the Porsche 918. The most valuable car I have is probably the Ferrari F40. Each car has its own characteristic, and they can move you in different ways, and that's what makes them enjoyable. I got into racing through my older brother. It left a mark on both of us. I've been racing professionally now since 2009. Drive Yourself Happy was so important to me that we actually trademarked it. That's what driving is meant to be. It's not just a matter of getting from A to B. If my wife and I go to dinner, we'll always take a long way home and just enjoy the drive. For more information, check out my profile at garagesocial.com.
Now, Stephanie, Jeff's profile really embodies the car guy. I mean, age 6, 7, and 8, we're checking out cars.
Yeah, exactly. He has a huge collection, 45 to 50 cars, which is amazing.
It is, yeah. He's got a whole bunch in there. He's also talking about Drive Happy and stuff. That's awesome that he patented that.
Exactly. And not only is he a car collector, he also is a avid car racer, which is amazing.
Yeah, and that's neat that he can share that on social media.
Exactly.
I mean, everybody can see that.
Exactly. So everyone needs to go check out his cars on Garage Social.
Find Jeff and others on garagesocial.com.
This edition of Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting, is being brought to you by Steel Rubber Products, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping. JeepBackbone.com, innovative aftermarket accessories for your Jeep. AP Laser, leading the way. And by Dustless Blasting, it's the future of surface preparation.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting. Now, you may be pulling a big trailer like ours with an A-frame, and your jack probably looks like ours, all rusted out, crank handle, blocks of wood down there. Well, for me, cranking, I don't like that, first and foremost. Second, it never extends enough, so I gotta go get some blocks of wood or a block of wood, try to level it up, real nightmare. Third option, you can manhandle that thing. Me, I'm not going to manhandle it. You maybe, not for me. Bulldog's got the solution. 4,000-pound jack for the front of that thing. That's what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Frankly, I'm shocked that you allow something this crummy looking on the front of your wardrobe trailer over here, but it is what it is. We're going to upgrade you from the Stone Age really into the Space Age with this piece. And as John said, a 4,000-pound A-frame electric jack here from Bulldog that is packed with features from this one-wire installation, single wire, so even if you're fearful of electronic stuff, this is no sweat. You have a multiple mounting option location here. You got multiple holes here in this ring, so when you set this into the tongue of the trailer, you can have it justified the way you want it to access the switches. We have lights integrated into the unit, one forward-facing to help you line up your trailer at night when you're backing up, and two rearward-facing. If you run a weight distribution-style hitch, you're going to use those lights at night to help hook up those spring bars on there. My favorite feature of this whole thing is the spring-loaded plunger pin. The reason this is so cool is because when you pull up and you get ready to use the jack, you pull the pin out and the foot comes out, the longest foot in the industry, so you're not going to have your wood blocks around anymore. As this foot drops down, the pin disengages. And then as you start applying the jack, it pushes the foot up, and you have a positive locking mechanism here, which you did not have with this piece. So it's a good safety feature. Up here on the top of the unit, you also have a level. You got this bubble style level that will allow you to make sure that your unit is straight, level, and that's very important, especially with a weight distribution hitch. Everything needs to be on the level when you're putting your spring bars in. The last thing, if you're wondering about why it's a 4,000-pound jack and who has 4,000 pounds on the tongue of their trailer, nobody should, but this is going to be used to lift both the trailer and the unit that's pulling it in some situations to get that level you need. That's why it's the 4,000-pound capacity.
And you know looks is important to me. So it's got a fade-resistant cover here. You got marine-grade switches, and I really like the top here. We can pop this off right on the top. We can pop this plug off, and if the battery goes dead or you're not charging it, you can go ahead and manually use it. So it's going to work either way. Now you're talking about fearful electronics. I love electronics. I'll tell you what, you take the front end of that one, I'll take the back end, I'll start doing electronics. Let's hit it.
Let's do it. Yeah, very easy installation. We have already removed John's horrible looking jack from previous, so now we're going to be able to drop in the Bulldog unit here. Again, you can note the ring that you'll see coming into the tongue of the trailer here, the multiple mounting locations. We're going to have our switches facing out. That's best for us. You could have them facing right or left if you wanted to. Now, John, I'm going to pass you.
Yeah, if you just feed me this wire through here.
Deluxe wire.
Yep, we're going to take the wire back here. We got some good wire practices. You want to make sure you get a good connection. Couldn't be any more simple. The cool part is it grounds, case grounded to the frame, also has some internal protection, so you don't need any kind of fuse here. We can go right to the positive battery terminal. I'm just going to take a terminal here. I'm going to go ahead and pop it in here. Make sure I got my white wire size. Come down with my crimping tool. I'll go ahead and crimp it and get it ready to go.
And John, as you're working on that, I've slid the unit in. I've gone ahead and put our locking collar on there with our plunger pin. I'm going to stick our foot in here. I'm just going to, before I bolt this down, it's important to get the foot in. That way we don't have a clearance issue. Foot's going to slide up in there. Now I can go ahead and get myself lined up. I'll start working on my bolts. What are you doing back there, John?
And that's it. I just got the little eye hook. I'm going to put it right in there. Once I get this in, I'm going to get the terminal started back here, get it tightened up. You should have power supply up there, so we're almost ready to go. Snug up the battery, get it on there. I'll come back later and I'll reroute some of this a little bit better so it's actually nice and tucked in there real secure and nicely so we don't have any issues, especially when we're towing down the road.
Good hardware supplied by Bulldog. You know, this is a company that's been around almost 100 years, and they've been making innovative products the whole time, and this is one that's really going to save people a lot of time and hassle. All right, John, that means we are done. I'm going to pull the pin. You do the honors, all right?
All right.
All right.
Try the lights first. Hey, we got lights. That's nice.
Plunge pins out. Lift us.
Here we go.
So watch. The pin's going to catch in a second here. Right about there.
There we go. Look at that. Oh, man.
It's a beautiful thing.
Wow, that's beautiful. You know what that means? I'm not going to run and get in the air-conditioned truck anymore. I'll stay here and hook up the trailer. You go get the truck. You go take a short break. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage.
Once a diva, always a diva.
Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting, coming to you from Borla Commerce Park.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting. You know, one of the hottest segments of the aftermarket these days is diesel performance, and the reason why is pretty simple. OEMs are cranking out these really hairy, tough diesel trucks, and they make a ton of power. But sometimes the components and the workload that they're being put under aren't surviving. And that's why we got guys like Vinny from Leadfoot Diesel Performance here to take us through some of the products that they work with to help diesel owners make more power and reliable.
Yeah, and one of those things is the factory turbo on the new Fords, strictly 11 through 14s. They have a very small inducer and a very small compressor wheel. And under a heavy load, especially with a programmer or any aftermarket performance supplements, you can blow that compressor wheel apart. So what we've found works, there's a lot of companies that make turbo kits. Maryland Performance offers a budget kit. Now this budget kit, it'll bolt right into the factory location, not a major job by any means, no cab off or anything. Comes with aftermarket high flow up pipes, and it's going to run you right around $3,000, whereas a stock turbo is roughly $2,000.
And you're not really fixing the problem when you put a stock turbo back on, because likely you're going to suffer the same issues.
Right. Yep.
The budget kit's pretty cool too, because it's also something you can kind of grow into or out of, correct?
That's right. Yeah, they offer a budget kit and they offer a performance kit. Now the performance kit's got a high price point and it comes with all the piping you see here, but you can start off with a budget kit and then work your way into the piping kit. Where the piping kit came about is the factory intake, which is this Y bridge right here, is plastic. And so you put a good healthy turbo on it that comes in the budget kit. Now you got these weak plastic components that are just going to blow apart. And so they developed all this stuff in stainless steel. It's CNC machined. It's seamless. So you bolt that stuff in later on and all your problems are solved.
Plus it looks awesome
That's
too.
right. Cleans up under the hood. You can actually see the turbo when this is all installed. Whereas from the factory, there's so much plastic and heat shielding, you lose the turbo.
Speaking about stuff blowing apart, you got a factory, basically a crankcase breather here. Now this is only pinched together from the manufacturing process, but you guys also have a solution for that.
Yeah, these are just glued together. They're multiple pieces and they're glued together. And so you get a hot truck that's running for a long period of time and these seams start to separate. And so what Maryland has come up with is this billet kit, and so it replaces all these plastic parts with billet parts.
You know, if we're talking about boosts, we're talking about plumbing, we can also talk about fuel systems, which are hugely important in a diesel truck, not only for making more power, but also efficiency, and you guys have solutions for that as well.
Yeah, a big question I get is guys want to get rid of emissions equipment, which is not legal. So ATS has come out with some cool solutions for us. And this is the dual fueler kit for the 2007 to 2016 Cummins. And it's a bolt-in kit. It works with all the factory emissions still in place. And what we're doing here is we're taking and adding a secondary injection pump. And this is an atomizer, which takes the factory signal from the CP3 injection pump, it multiplies that signal and sends it to the secondary pump, and it creates more pressure, which ends in a cleaner burn, less emissions being created, which means fewer regen cycles. So you're gonna get performance and fuel economy.
Pretty awesome, and you get that nice Cummins exhaust manifold
That's right.
over there as well.
Yeah, the stock Cummins turbos, they suffer a little bit on the design side. And so what we like to get back to is more of a fixed vane Borg-Warner style turbo. We've never been able to do that because the factory flange on the Cummins manifold for the 6.7s is a weird size. Okay. It's like a 3.5-inch flange. Most Borg-Warner turbos are T3 or T4. And so that's what ATS has developed here is a T3 manifold with the EGR ports still on it, so we can run an aftermarket turbo that'll live for hundreds of thousands of miles with the EGR still in place.
We've talked a lot of stuff that helps more of the mild end of the trucks. We're getting a little bit more performance and reliability. But Lead-Foot Diesel Performance didn't get his name for nothing. The truck back here makes over 1,300 horsepower, right around 1,300 horsepower at the tire, and that means you need to have big, billet, nasty parts in there. So you guys not only have the mild, you also have the wild. These things are like mechanical jewelry, man.
Yes, they are. Yeah, the factory manifolds are cast iron, and what cast iron tends to want to do when you get in a heavy, stressful, hot environment, it wants to twist, it wants to warp. These are billet steel. They will not twist, they will not warp, they will not crack, and they're also high flow.
I'll tell you what, where can people learn more about Lead-Foot Diesel Performance and all the products you offer?
You can visit our Facebook page. We're always putting up cool videos, and we do a lot of competition on the weekends, sled pulls, drag races, and you can always visit our website, leadfootdiesel.com.
Cool, man. I think this truck's headed to the strip this weekend, so we'll keep our eyes peeled. We're going to be back after this with more from Motorhead Garage presented by Dustless Plastic.
This edition of Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting, is being brought to you by Scheid Diesel, diesel fuel injection specialist. Borla, the world's most winning exhaust. Stage 8, the world's best locking fastener. And by Dustless Blasting, it's the future of surface preparation.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting. There's an old saying out there that goes something like, you can't keep a good man down, and the same can be said for a good idea. And that's really kind of the story behind this, called the Canback, and I'm joined by Brian from Canback. And Brian, give me a little bit of background story about how this product literally came back to life.
The original Canback was made about a decade and a half ago. They had a fantastic product, fantastic reputation. Unfortunately, they were one of the casualties of the 2006 recession. But we knew about the product, we loved the product, we couldn't let it die, so we've brought it back to life.
We're looking at a premium camper canvas shell on the back of this Toyota right here, and it's a very versatile product, and I'd like you to explain some of the features we have. I mean, styling, I can look and see, man, it's contoured to the cab, it fits the bed perfectly, but tell me about everything we're looking at here. What's going on?
The big thing about the Canback is the features. It's a lightweight, weighs about 60 pounds, but it also gives you accessibility into the bed of the truck. These front and rear panels are independent. You could unzip them here, take them off, you could unzip it here, take the panel all the way off. If you go ahead and unfasten that.
Sure. I notice as I'm taking this off of here, I'm looking at a couple of things. One, I see that there's a lot of like reinforcement here where your snaps are to anchor these. Looks like you guys did a nice job.
Yeah, every feature in this thing, whenever there's a stress point, it's reinforced. We make sure that these things are going to handle the stresses of the wind. People are going to drive these things fast, they're going to drive in heavy winds.
I also noticed too, with this flat back here is in a pocket, so there's no way the wind can catch it and kind of blow it around.
Yeah, when you take a look, the front panel wraps around the side panel overlaps the side panel, and then this one here comes in and tucks inside the pocket.
So show me what I'm looking at here now that we got this baby unhooked.
Okay, so if you want, you could unzip this top panel, this side panel, take it all the way out. You could do the back panel independent of the front panel. You could roll these things up, and with straps, you could strap this thing in place with the buckles here. You could go ahead and flip it on top if you want easy access. It's available in mesh windows and vinyl windows as well as solid canvas if you want to have accessibility or you want to go camping and have airflow.
So with this flap up, we can really see this stainless steel mounting system, and I'm no spring chicken, man. I can grab one of this thing and almost turn the truck over.
Yeah, we made it out of stainless steel and very stout because we have an integrated roof rack system in here. Cambac has the patent on an integrated roof rack. We're the only system out here with a canvas camper shell that can have that. You have 4 tabs as part of the skeleton. Each roof rack can handle 75 pounds. 4 roof racks times 4 is 300 pounds. If you get the reinforcement kit, you could double those load ratings to get you 600 pounds. 600 pounds is a magical number. That's the weight of a tent plus 2 adults if you want to have a roof-mounted tent and go camping on top.
It's fantastic, man. So we've seen a lot of cool features on the side. Now we know some stuff on the top. Let's go check out the features on the back. Well, so we get to the rear of the truck and we can see even more features the Cambac has, starting right up here with this light.
Yeah, this is a plasma glow light. It has, in addition to being a brake light, it has left and right turn signals. It also has white lights in here for reverse. If you don't want to hook up the reverse light, you could run it to here, put a switch on it, and use it as a work light to have light back here when you're working.
Let's say I do want all the features. How do I hook it to the truck?
We have a quick disconnect here. It goes at the top of the framework. It's just your standard 4-prong. You bring it down, you plug it into your wiring harness, or you could hardwire it in.
So the next feature here is this vinyl style rear window, and great piece, but do I have to worry about any sort of fading or hazing?
Again, on the quality issue of the Cambac, we selected Strataglass. This is a marine industry vinyl window. It's high quality vinyl with a polyurethane coating on it. The polyurethane coating gives you UV resistance, gives you scratch resistance, and gives you salt spray resistance from chemicals.
And how about when I go to open my bed here, I notice I got a nice steel bar, but I can get my tailgate open without any problems, right?
Yeah, so what you do is this bar telescopes in and out, and you can just flip it up on top. Get you out of the way. Again, this back panel is zippered in place. You could take the entire panel out and run without a panel.
And you offer multiple mounting solutions as well. You have the clamp style mounts in here, but if you don't want the clamps, you can also use the same hardware, but get a nice professional mount without the clamps.
Yeah, this clamp, it bolts onto the side. You can flip it underneath the rail system, bolt it down to your truck, and have a clean installation without the clamps.
Where do I go to learn more about Cambac?
The website is can-back.com. We're signing up retailers throughout the United States. Go in there and ask them about the Cambac, and we'll sign them up so you can buy it locally.
Brian, thank you very much for coming by Motorhead Garage this week. That's going to be it for us. We're going to be back next week with more great stuff here at the Motorhead Garage shop.